Jumping right in, we're going to install Composer, a dependency manager for your project. A dependency manager keeps up with packages and libraries that you include on a project-by-project basis. This is different from what's called a package manager, which installs packages and libraries system-wide. Using a dependency manager, such as Composer, will allow us several advantages over the commonly used method of just having several includes throughout your code. One of which is the ability to manage our project library versions. Versioning is how developers let you know when a code base has been changed. They do this using a process called semantic versioning. Semantic versioning works like this. Let's use the Slim framework library as an example. The current stable version as of this course is version 2.6.2. There are 3 sections of this software version separated by the dot or period character. The 3 sections are as follows. 2 is the major version number. There are a few rules that we'll need to know about that will help us determine what updates we're okay with. A change in the patch version is usually just to fix bugs. A change in the minor version can be feature changes or things of the like that are backwards compatible, meaning upgrading to a new minor change should not break existing code. A change in the major version means that there are changes so great that it will break the existing API. Composer helps us tremendously here by allowing for wildcards when we install a library. These wildcards let us tell Composer when we run an update if we're okay with patches and minor updates or just patches. We'll learn more and more about this process as we get deeper into Composer and including libraries. All of this using PHP standards and best practices right from the start. Here are some common problems that Composer solves for us and are listed clearly and concisely on their website. You have a project that depends on a number of libraries. Some of those libraries depend on other libraries. You declare things that you depend on, and then Composer finds out which versions of the packages need to be installed and installs them, meaning downloads them into your project. By now, you should be super excited about using Composer, right? So let's head over to Workspaces and see how to get Composer started.
In our workspace, your console should be open. If your console is not open, such as this, I'm going to close it out. All you need to do is go to the View drop-down menu and hit Show Console. Now that our console is showing, the first thing we're going to do is install a dependency with Composer. Now, normally you would have to install Composer, but Workspace already has Composer installed. You can find out that it's installed for you by typing in Composer and hitting Enter. All right, you'll see a list of commands. We're not going to get into a lot of them right now. We'll just get started with a few of them. But let's clear our console by typing the word clear and hitting Enter. Makes it a little nicer. You can also expand and contract your console by dragging on the bar. Let's head over to a new tab inside of our browser so we can take a look at the Composer documentation on their website. Open up a new tab and type in getcomposer.org. and hit Enter. The next thing you're going to do is go to the documentation link, about halfway down the page, then to the basic usage link. The next thing you want to do is click on the pound sign next to basic usage to bring it to the top. As you can see here, to use Composer, you have to have it installed. We've got that covered. The next is we're going to have a composer.json file, which we will require our development and production level packages that we need to use throughout our project. Composer will manage everything for you, but we have to have a composer.json file. Let's get started by doing that inside of Workspaces. I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to my workspace and type in composer and then init. Now, you don't have to do this specifically. You can just simply create a composer.json file, but we're going to do this to define a little bit more of a package to kind of define our project a little bit better. When you hit Enter, it'll send a prompt. The prompt is going to be, what is your package name? Well, what is your vendor name, which could be your personal name or your company name, and then what is the name of the package or the project that you're working on? This isn't really going to matter to us right now. So the default, as you can see in the square brackets, is root/workspace. That's totally fine. Go ahead and hit Enter. We don't need to enter a description right now. And if you try to get away without entering an author, it'll give you an error for invalid author string. So then it also shows you the format, which is the first name, last name, and then an email address inside of the greater than and less than symbols. Let's do that now. Hampton, Hawk, and then open up a less than and type in my email address, which is hampton@teamtreehouse.com, and then close it out with a greater than symbol. Go ahead and hit enter. And then what is our stability? Not going to matter right now, nor our license. Do we want to define our dependencies and are active? Let's just continue all the way through using the default answers. So we're going to hit enter, and then we're going to hit enter again, enter again, enter again. It's going to give us a preview of what our composer.json file should look like. That looks fine to me. I'm going to hit enter, and it will create that. I'm going to clear my console. Head back over to your folder structure, and then right-click and hit refresh. Here you'll see a composer.json file, and we're going to go ahead and drop this down a little bit. And you'll see that at the moment, we're not requiring anything, but you can see we have a nice definition of what our project or package is going to be. Let's require a new monologue instance, and we're going to do that using another console command called composer require. So let's bring our console back up a little bit, and then we're going to click on it and type in composer require and hit enter. Now, it wants you to search for a package. I know we want to install Monologue, so I'm going to type in Monologue and hit enter. So it's going to search and find a list of packages that have Monologue in it. Okay, the first one is the one I want, Monologue/Monologue. If you ever wonder where you can find these packages, you can open up a new tab and go to packagist.org. Packagist.org is a listing and search area for all the different packages or repositories inside of PHP that you can use with Composer. We're going to search for Monologue, so just type in Monologue. And you'll see the first result is Monologue/Monologue. If you click on it, this will give you information about the package, such as its docs, its GitHub files, where the source is located, and information about the package. Let's switch back over to Treehouse Workspaces and go back to our console. Now here, we're just going to type the number 0, which is that first package in the search, and we're going to hit enter. Now, do we want the latest version? Yes, it will not use dev, it's only going to use production. So hit enter, and it's going to do a search for the latest version. So as you can see, it's going to be using version 1.13 with a tilde. This is using wildcards. Now, these wildcards for Composer allow us to specify what types of version upgrades we're okay with, such as majors, minors, or patch versions using the semantic versioning style. All right, so now that we know we're going to use that, we're not going to install another package, so we'll just go ahead and hit enter, which will then begin to install Monologue. Monologue had a couple of dependencies, actually just one, which is PSR log. It installed that for us as well, and then suggests that we install other packages if we want to send it to different types of servers for logging. We don't, so we don't need to install any of these suggested packages. If you go back and close our console and take a look at our file for composer.json, you can now see that monologue/monologue, that has been added to our Composer file. The next step we're going to do is right-click on our file structure and hit refresh. You'll see here we have a composer.lock file, which tells us what versions are currently in use, though we're not going to be able to preview that yet inside Workspaces. Then inside the vendor folder, you'll see that there is a PHP file called autoload. We'll get into that next. And then a folder for Composer, Monologue, and PSR. All you need to know is that everything inside of this vendor folder is managed by this composer.json file. Our next step is to actually use Monologue. The way we're going to do that is through an index.php file and autoloading. We'll get into that right now.